Hello YouTube. So got the transmission back in the Trans Am. Took it for a ride. Transmission works pretty good. No more howling in third gear, and it actually goes into second under load now. Before, once we had the incident at the track, and like I said, you do your burnout. If you bark the gears in second gear in your burnout, you take a chance on breaking the sprag. Now, is it going to happen? It's a slim chance that it happens, but there is that chance. And with my luck, it happened. So, anyway, I pulled the if y'all watched the last few videos, I pulled the transmission out. I tore the transmission apart just enough to replace the sprag. I had to replace the direct drum because the race and the race for the sprag, because it damaged those as well when the sprag broke. But put it back, put the new 34 element sprag, direct drum, and new race back in it. Took it for a test drive yesterday. I meant to take the GoPro with me, but it didn't. And it did great. The transmission did anyway. And if y'all watched the video of the last time at the track, it was losing fuel pressure. It was starting at like 50 and dropping to 20. I suspected it was the fuel pump, because the fuel pump has went out on this thing before. When we first got that fuel pump, it would run, and then all out of the blue, it just quit. You try to turn back on, it wouldn't come on, but if you kept trying, it'd come on, run a little bit, and it'd quit. And I sent it to Aeromotive, and Aeromotive was like, there ain't nothing wrong with it. Sent it back to us. Now I know there was something wrong with it. I got videos to prove it was doing that. But anyway, so I suspected it was the pump. But, or actually first I suspected maybe the sump wasn't low enough for us having a low amount of fuel in it. That's what I first suspected. Was maybe the sump was too high, because the sump's up here in the bottom of the tanks, like down here. I show some videos of it and some of the other videos. So I was running at about 1/8 of a tank of fuel, and I thought maybe some of the fuel, that sump has holes, baffles in it from the tank part, so the fuel, once it gets in there, it can't slosh out as easy. And I thought maybe the tank wasn't just full enough to get into the sump, and it was running out of, the sump was running out of fuel that feeds everything. But I put 15 gallons in it, and I drove it down the road to test the transmission and the fuel pressure, and it still dropped fuel pressure. So I thought, well, let me put my fuel pressure regulator on it and see if it still does it. And I'll show you the fuel pressure regulator I use. This is the fuel pressure regulator I use on my, if y'all are familiar with the channel, that's my son's car. And that's my car. My car is a 5.3 Vortec LS, whatever you want to call it, with just a BTR stage 2 turbo cam, one of their older stage 2 turbo cams. And it's got an LS1 intake on it and a GT45 turbo. It's a, most of the GT, the brand is budget build. I guess they went out of business. I can't find them online anymore, but it's a 69 millimeter GT45 turbo. Most of the ones I see on eBay are 67 millimeter. But that car weighs 3,600 pounds with me in it, and it'll run a 9.8 in a quarter mile. It'll run a 6.2 in the 1/8. But anyway, on that car, that's the fuel pressure regulator that I've been running for, I don't know, 2 years now. And it does great. And I just got you can get it off Amazon, eBay, whatever. This is the one I bought for Christopher's car. It don't work. It don't work. I try to adjust the fuel pressure, and I can only adjust it about 5 psi. I took mine off of my car and put it on Christopher's car, and it works. And I can adjust it about 20 psi with this one, and it holds fuel pressure now. So it was this regulator wasn't working. I don't know why, but once it starts to go wide open throttle and build more than 2 pounds of boost, the fuel pressure goes from 50 to about 20. With this one, I set the fuel pressure at like 45. When you let off the gas, it drops to 40 psi where it's pulling vacuum. And then 6 pounds of boost, it went up to 51 pounds of fuel pressure. So this one's working good. And Christopher ordered, I put mine on his car, and then Christopher ordered this one off. We get them off Amazon. But what is that? PQY Performance, I guess. But he ordered one off Amazon yesterday, and it came in today. So we're gonna put the fittings on this one and the gauge back on it. Mine had a gauge. Where did that gauge go? Here it is. Mine had a gauge on it, which it has a gauge and the fittings that go with it. But here's the gauge, and there's the 3 fittings. I forget what size those are. I think they're 8 for the sides and 6 for the bottom. But I don't run it like that. I've got a 6 to 8 on this one. On Christopher's, I actually got a 6 to 10 on his, because his is 10 feed and 10 return. Mine's 8 feed, 8 return. Yeah, I believe that's the way it goes. But yeah. So the fuel pressure issue wasn't the pump, it was the fuel pressure regulator. So the transmission's fixed, the regulator's fixed now. There's there's actually quite a few 6.0 index races around here this weekend. But we're going to try to maybe go to Edgewater Friday night and then get it to run a 6.0. Surely it can run a 6.0. I'm hoping it'll run like a 5.5. But we should definitely be able to get it to run a 6.0, because my 5.3 runs a 6.2 with a 69 millimeter turbo, and this is a 6.0 with way more compression. This was the LQ9 with 243 heads, so it has 11-to-1 compression. It's got the sloppy stage 2 cam, which has a little bit less lift than mine, but it has more duration than my cam, and the duration's where a lot of the power comes from. The lift does too, but the duration's what mainly helps them out, from what I've gathered anyway. But his has the truck intake on it, and it's a 6.0, so more cubes, more compression, better intake, and a bigger turbo. His got an 80 millimeter turbo on it. So, and mine runs a 6.2, so his should easily run, I don't know, I think it'll run a 5.5 when we turned up. It might even go faster than that, but I'm thinking it should surely run a 5.5. But anyway, we're just going to go test Friday night at Edgewater, and then Saturday do the 6.0 class at Kentucky Dragway in his car. That's what we're hoping to do. And then in my car, which I got to put this regulator on because I took it off of mine, but on my car I got to put this regulator back on, and I'm going to run the 10.0 quarter-mile index at Kentucky Dragway this Saturday, which I won the last time they had it. But let's go over how we hook these regulators up and how we run our fuel lines on these Turbo Vortec LS motors. Alright, so I had an 1/8 inch MPT plug right here. Took that out, and it had a 8AN cap there. These are 8AN and 6AN. So we're going to put these 8AN on the sides. Whatever size your fuel line is, you'll need to, if it's 8AN, you're good. If not, you'll need to get an 8AN to whatever you're going to use there. But we'll put these in. We're going to lube up the threads. I'm just going to put a little spit on them, and then we'll screw those in and tighten them up. And then my return is an 8AN. It comes with a 6 orb. This is the orb O-ring to a AN fitting 6 to 6, but I use a 6 to 8. And yeah, you just lube the threads up and you put it in. Now on the gauge, it's going to go right there. We're going to use some of that yellow tape, which is best for oil, gas, and E85. You need to use tape on that though, on these 8-inch MPT threads to put that in, but you don't need the tape on these O-rings. Alright, just a little saliva on the rubber O-rings. Screwed those in, snugged them up. Make sure not to hit any part of this flat part right here on these AM fittings, because if you do, they won't seal anymore. That's where they seal at. And a little bit of this yellow Teflon tape on our MPT threads, and we'll screw that in. And ta-da, there we go. These are tapered MPT threads, so you don't want to tighten them up crazy tight, but you do want to get them tight. Like if you tighten them MPT tapered threads up really tight, where they're tapered, they'll crack what you're tightening them into. You ain't too careful if you go too crazy. But yeah, let's go throw it on the car. So the way that we run these on both cars is we have the feed that comes up, and it feeds the fuel rails. On my car, it feeds the front. Comes up, feeds the front. Then it comes out the back into each side of the fuel pressure regulator, here and here. And then that regulates it, and then it sends it back the return, which I got a fuel E85 sensor. You have to split it so you don't lose the size of your line, because this line ain't very big. So I got this contraption for the ethanol sensor, and then it returns. But yeah, that's how we run them. We go into the rails, and then we come out of the rails, regulate it, and then return it. Well, I'm told that's the best way to do it, so that's the way we run it. But we'll go ahead and smack it on there, and we'll set the fuel pressure on it. Alright, it's on. I loosen this nut because we got to set the fuel pressure. We're not going to hook the vacuum. There's a vacuum hose that goes to this, and on these fuel injection cars, it needs to be manifold vacuum and boost. So it'll read vacuum and boost, because when you got vacuum on here, it'll lower the fuel pressure. Then when you got boost, it'll raise the fuel pressure 1-to-1. 1 fuel pressure per 1 pound of boost. But with this unhooked, and we'll have to cap this so we don't have a vacuum leak. But with this unhooked, I set this one to 40 psi. That's just where it's tuned at, where we set it at. And on the Trans Am in there, the 6.0 with the 80mm turbo, we set the base pressure at 50. But you want to set the pressure with the vacuum unhooked, and plug your vacuum leak there. So we'll go ahead and plug this. We'll start it up, and we'll use our Allen to set it for 40, and we'll check for leaks. I just stuck a stick down in there to stop that vacuum leak. Alright, we got the pumps running. Checking for leaks anywhere. And then we can go ahead and get the fuel pressure close with the screw, with the fuel, without it running. Alright, making some progress. Screwing that clockwise, tightening it up, making it go in, raises the fuel pressure. Turning it counterclockwise, screwing it out, loosening like you're loosening it, lowers the fuel pressure. Alright, there we go. We're at 40. Now we're going to start the car and make sure it stays there. I set them with the car running and no vacuum going to the regulator. Start her up. I don't like the cold start. I haven't started in a while. Now when we hook the vacuum line up, it'll pull it down a little bit. It'll probably pull it down to about 38, but we'll see. All right, vacuum line on. Let's see what we got now. See, like I said, it pulled it down to 38, which that's where it was before. It might have been a pound higher before, but oh well, that's close enough. No leaks. Starts up good. We're good to go. This one's ready to race. Now we gotta put that bracket on Christopher's car that fits that regulator. I took my regulator off my car and put it on his car, but the bracket that for the one he had on there, it's different. So we're gonna put this bracket on there. Mine don't use the bracket, so I did something with this. I don't know where it's at, so we'll put the bracket on that one. All right, so here's the one I took off my car, put on Christopher's car, and now it works. But this one works the same way. We got it run the same way. This is the feed. It comes up, it splits, but it goes in the back of the fuel rail, and then they come out the front of the fuel rail here and here, and then come over to the regulator here and here. Regulator regulates it, sends the extra out the bottom down the return, and we'll go ahead and I got it where it's stuck up in through the hole on the other bracket. It's probably worked just fine. Oh look, I did have the bracket still on that. I was wondering where it went. You know what? Nah, we'll put the bracket on it. Yeah, we'll put the bracket on it. We'll unscrew that, lift it up. We'll take this bracket off that was for the old one, and hopefully those holes will line up where it looks like they're close. No, they won't line up. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna zip tie that down and leave it with that bracket on there, because I've already got where we had the carburetor fuel pressure regulator here, and then this one, there's already like 5 holes there. I don't want to drill a bunch of more. I'm just going to put a zip tie to hold it down where it can't bounce around, and just call that good. But that'll do it. Hopefully the next video will be me and Chris at Edgewater Friday night testing, trying to get this one to run 6.0. If it does run 6.0, we'll save that tune, and then we'll see if we can get it to even go faster. And then Saturday we'll go to Kentucky Dragway. He'll run the 6.0 in the 8th index, and I'll run the 10.0 and the quarter-mile index in my car. But y'all stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. But yeah, I only had colored zip ties, neon colors. But yeah, that zip tie holds it down in there good. It moves a little, but not much. And with the vacuum unhooked on this one, I set it as low as it would go. It's supposed to be at 50, but it's at 51. When you hook the vacuum up, it goes to 50. But that's close enough. 51. The computer is set for 50, but 51. Be alright. That Haltech, man, it makes all kinds of adjustments. Fuel pressure dropped to 20. It still maintained a 12 AFR going down the track.